Good morning, friends and fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is a morning market prep video for Friday, March 25th, 2022. Well, yesterday, the bulls decided we don't care about no stinking durable goods orders that came in quite negative on the day and just decided they wanted to rally yesterday. So pushing up and creating some pretty good bullish patterns in the index charts. So what does that mean for today? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Friday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thanks so much for being here. Let's take a look at these charts and see if we can gain some information about how we may want to approach the market for today. First off, I have mentioned before, it's critical that when we look at a chart, we look at these big, strong rallies like this, that we are able to put in a higher low, that we can prove a higher low. And by golly, look what's happening here. We broke that downtrend, and those bulls, defiant in here, we're just kind of ignoring inflation, we're ignoring Russia, Ukraine, we're ignoring lots of things here in the market. Those internal numbers don't seem to matter right now because they just want to buy. So watch that carefully. We have put in that possibility of a nice little higher low here pattern in that chart, and the question is, can they follow through with that today, pushing it through to the upside with kind of that uncertainty of the weekend coming into play. Tech was the big winner yesterday, but we'll still want to be paying attention right in here on these price resistance levels in the chart. Obviously, this is a fairly substantial price resistance level in the chart. So if those bulls can push through there, that'll be pretty interesting here on the day. And if those bears find a reason to push back, once again, we've got support levels in that chart to deal with. Let's keep in mind that we've pushed up through that 50-day moving average, and we're trying to push up toward that 200-day moving average in the chart, but we still want to keep in mind 50 has crossed down through the 200, and just realize that maybe not everything is quite as rosy as the bulls are trying to demonstrate here in the market. We may be a little bit overextended in the short term. Then let's take a quick look. SPY, very similar here on SPY, except a little bit stronger. We had quite a surge in big tech yesterday, and obviously big tech is a big part of the SPY index, and as you can see, pushing up through here, pushing right into that price resistance level in the chart. Now, there is a challenge here for big tech today. If you saw the news this morning, Europe has passed new regulations with an attempt to slow down or deter big tech, the big tech dominance in their economy over there. So we'll want to watch that closely. That may hamper some of this bullish energy going into those tech giants. But let's watch that closely. Now, once again, we're creating that little higher low here in the chart. And this is a pattern, this 3-candle pattern that you see right here. I call that a Fig Newton pattern, and you won't find that in any candlestick books, but typically when you see a bullish candle, bearish candle, bullish candle on the other side, that typically leads to a follow through to the upside. But we still have that challenge of that price resistance in here to deal with, so you just never know as we slide into the weekend. But I got to give this one to the bulls here for sure, because we are holding that higher low in the market, albeit kind of stretched in the short term on that chart. If the bears find reason for a little bit of feistiness here today, we'll want to watch this area right in here for a little bit of price support in that chart. Then let's take a look at our QQQ. Like I said, QQQ was the big winner yesterday. Really, really strong move. You can see the very strong bullishness, and again, kind of that Fig Newton type pattern in the chart. And we're pushing up into this really remarkably strong level of price resistance in the QQQ, but we're trying to ignore anything negative right now and just push into stocks. Now let's watch some of those closely because some of those have become very extended in the short term. Take a look at Apple as an example, and as a matter of fact, I actually picked up, whoops, if I could type the symbol correctly, I actually picked up a position yesterday that is a bearish position here on Apple because I think it's just extended too far too fast and slamming into that resistance. It's highly likely it pulls back, if not today, next week. So watch that closely as we continue to extend some of these stocks to kind of ridiculous levels, considering the inflationary impacts, rising Fed rates and things like that here in the market. Let's take a look at IWM. Our Russell index also putting in that little higher low in here, trying to show that bullishness, trying to hold that support level in the chart. But unfortunately, IWM still has this uncomfortable situation of that massive level of price resistance above. So we'll have to see. I think it's going to take something pretty amazing to push IWM up through there, but you never know. The bulls just seem to be covering their eyes. As a matter of fact, I put a picture on the blog this morning, just covering your eyes. We don't care about durable goods orders. We don't care about falling home sales. We don't care about falling mortgage rates. We don't care about, higher inflation. We don't care that the Fed is going to be raising rates again. And we just keep plowing on forward as if none of that matters at all. And maybe it doesn't. Who knows? Let's take a look at our VIX here. Now, the VIX yesterday was not doing much of anything, honestly, until right at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, we just had a massive surge. Right in the last 5 minutes of the day, a massive surge came into the market, pushing those indexes up sharply, and that pushed that VIX down. So good sign here for the bulls that VIX is starting to relax a little bit, pull back quite a little bit. We're going to want to watch this 20 handle. There is quite a little price support in that 20 handle, but we've given up that 25 area in the chart, and we broke that upside trend. So things are looking a lot better here in the VIX, but I wonder if maybe, again, it's just we're tired of the selling and we're just trying to ignore everything, wanting to buy in the market. But I gotta tell you guys, I think I would be really, really careful and cautious. I think that sell side may come back here in the market, but watch those closely. Let's take a look at our T21 22 this morning. Our T21 22, the 4-week new high, new low ratio. It did its job day before yesterday, pushing us back from that very extended pattern in here. And I mentioned yesterday that we've seen these patterns in here where we can exist up here for a while. We can hold in this upper range of T21, 22, and that's exactly happening right now. We have that potential. If those bulls can push on through today, we have that potential that we could extend back up here in that bearish reversal zone. But let's keep in mind, guys, I don't care how far back you go, you'll never find a situation where we can extend beyond these levels and continue to push to the upside before we get some of that pullback or selling. Now, keep in mind, we can have a rest in the market, meaning just a consolidation, and that pulls this back. It doesn't necessarily mean we have to fall all the way back down. So let's keep an eye on some of this data today. If the bulls can follow through to the upside, well, we certainly have a little bit of upside room to push through. And if those bears find a reason, we've opened up pretty substantial downside potential here in the market if they re-engage, and we'll just have to be watching carefully for that in case that does occur. Let's take a look at our T21 08. Now, T2108 had a pretty good day, and it really surged right at the end of the day. But notice that although we pushed up into higher prices here in our indexes, just kind of keep in mind that our T2108 did improve, but it didn't break through the high of just a couple of days ago. So kind of interesting. Didn't quite make it up through there, but we're still challenging this resistance, this downtrend resistance in the chart. We have broken back through this little downside trend to the upside, and we're pushing into some of these resistance levels. So we will have to keep an eye on that. Just note that we're pushing into quite a little bit of price resistance on that T2108. T2107, very, very similar. We did push up at the end of the day, had a nice little shove there, but once again, we didn't break through that resistance or that high of just a couple of days ago, and we continue to travel in this downtrend. So we're right up here at that point where failure could occur unless we can get something pretty substantial to push us on through, and it's certainly possible that that could occur. We held on to price support levels in the chart, so that's a good sign when it pulled back, but we still have significant price resistance above here in this chart to push on through. Then let's take a look at our T2101, and I got to tell you, I'm afraid T2101 isn't really helping us out much right now because volumes during the day have been extremely light, extremely low, and it's just right at the end of the day when that dark pool activity comes in that we get that surge of volume into the indexes. But by and large, it's been a very, very light volume here in the market, so I'm not sure we're getting a whole lot of indication of momentum here in the market, but that price action does suggest that the bulls are maintaining control and holding control, and they're willing to fight, so that is good for the market. We'll want to watch that close. Let's take a look at our economic calendar for today. Now, our economic calendar has a couple of things that we're going to want to be paying attention to here this morning. Let's notice that we got consumer sentiment. Now, consensus estimates are suggesting that the sentiment will stay right where it was last reading. And that is at a very low number right now. Consumer sentiment is extremely challenged here. And you can understand why, with inflation taxing those consumers at every turn, with all prices really going higher every place. So we'll want to watch that today. If these higher gas prices that occurred over the last few weeks and rising food prices, commodities, all of those things continue to press on those consumers, we could certainly see that slip a little bit more today. This is one of my favorite indicators in the market, and the reason it is because we are a consumer-based economy, and if we continue to ignore the temperature of the consumers, well, I think we do it at our own risk. They're not happy right now, and that typically suggests a slowing economy and even that possibility of recession with the Fed pushing the accelerator on their hawkishness. So watch that carefully. And then we have some Fed speakers today. We just have a parade of Fed speakers today, as you can see. Whoops. How that happened, but we have Fed speakers here today, quite a few of those going on, so I doubt we learn anything more from them today, but we'll want to keep an eye on that. And then these pending home sales we'll want to be keeping an eye on. Obviously, mortgage applications dropped hard this week, so it'll be interesting to see how those pending home sales actually come in today. Don't be surprised if they happen to be a little bit on the negative side, but they were so negative last time that we may actually get a little bit of a boost to the upside on that today. So watch those close. Then let's take a look at our earnings calendar today. Now, our earnings calendar, we're really winding down on this quarter of earnings. So we have 30-some companies listed on the calendar, but the vast majority of those are unconfirmed reports. And if, as I sorted through and looked for some notables, I got to tell you guys, there really isn't much out there that I would truly suggest would be a major notable or a major market mover today. Let's take a look. DOOO, that will be reporting this morning. Looks like it's trying to push on up to challenge this downtrend in the chart. If it can get a good enough earnings report, that might help that pop through that resistance of that downtrend. So keep an eye on that. DCTH, come here. DCTH also reporting today. Again, $6 stock, not exactly something that's going to be moving the market today. MOV, $37 stock. This is a little bit more on that notable side, but you'll want to keep in mind that this has been moving in this downtrend, not looking, all that stellar, but a good earnings report could certainly help out an awful lot, pushing it through. I've got PNT on the list today. Again, little $6 stock, clearly in a downtrend. Has a couple things going against it for me because it's a biotech, and I choose not to trade biotechs because they are so wildly volatile. So watch that close. And then last but not least, I put on the list, and I really don't think this is going to matter. TRU, whoops. This guy. This guy has been listed as a potential notable, and I got to tell you, I just don't think anybody's going to care. Almost no volume in this stock. So again, we're really winding down on those earnings reports. And remember, next week we have 4 days to wrap up the end of the quarter. So we'll want to watch that closely, and we'll also kind of keep in mind there may be that possibility of additional bullishness with that end of quarter window dressing. So kind of keep that in mind as we head into the weekend. Let's take a look at some of the stocks that could be setting up. But before we do that, guys, if you could do me a quick favor. If this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube and then click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you feel the video was worthy, please click those thumbs up buttons, leave those brief comments. And I just got to say thanks to everyone who does continue to do that. I know it's a pain to do it day after day after day, but at the same time, it helps support the effort to put out these videos day after day after day, and hopefully you guys are finding some benefit in this information. So thank you so much for everyone who does do that. I truly appreciate it. And I also want to just say big shout out and thank you to everyone who supports the channel through the Buy Me a Coffee link below. That I truly appreciate as well. Let's take a look at a few of these stocks that are making some pretty decent moves. But we'll want to be a little bit careful as we slide into the weekend and realizing that our markets are pressed against price resistance levels in the charts. Let's take a look. I've mentioned TSCO here recently, and I'm still watching that TSCO. Tractor Supply, remember, as food prices continue to rise, I think there is a possibility that we could see more and more folks thinking about that urban farming, and Tractor Supply is one of those companies that can definitely benefit from that. And you'll want to be watching this right in here. I've placed a price alert. I like the way it broke through that resistance level right in here, and we're just camping out, just holding right in that area, resting. So I'll be watching this for a potential pop through on that chart, see if it can push on up to the upside. As you guys know, I've been talking about alternative energies. Take a look at Plug Power. Plug continues to move on up in a chart. Now, it is challenged by its 200-day moving average right here. So it may have to rest here for a little bit, but watch that closely. Plug continues to push on up as those energy prices continue to make people start looking for some of those alternative sources for energy. So Plug, something to watch for. You might want to also be keeping an eye on natural gas. Now, I've been holding UNG as a long-term hold, but what happened overnight here is the U.S. has finished up a deal with Europe to supply natural gas to Europe. So I think this could continue on higher. You might want to look at some of those natural gas, UNG, LMT. Those could benefit from these moves today as we're going to start shipping some of that natural gas to try and help them move away from that Russian gas out there. Let's take a look also at some of the other alternative energies. Take a look at First Solar here. Got to type the symbol right though. Taking a look at First Solar, you can see in here we have a very bullish pattern here in the chart, trying to show lots of bullishness. And if we look at the solar ETF TAN, look at that bullish candle coming in here this morning trying to push up, and you can see some of the stocks in that sector just looking pretty darn bullish as they continue to push up. So I would keep a close eye on some of those alternative solar stocks in there. They're looking just pretty darn good at the moment. You might also want to keep an eye on some of those commodity based stocks. Yesterday we had Brent oil pulling back a little bit, but it honestly didn't really hurt the oil sector here at all. Notice we're just resting here a little bit in Devon Energy, Occidental pulling back, just resting a little bit. So these may set up more opportunities to the upside. I just can't imagine with the issues that we have geopolitically that we're going to see energy prices pull back a whole lot in that light. So watch those closely. There could be quite a few opportunities in those charts. Another area that I haven't brought up here for a while, there was some news yesterday about the old CEO coming back to Crone. CRO, it's a cannabis stock, and these have just been terribly beat up. Notice these ugly downtrends in the chart. And we had a big surge in volume yesterday with the news that CEO was coming back, and you can see popping up here this morning. So keep an eye on Crone, and you may want to take a look. There's getting other cannabis stocks are getting some nice pushes to the upside as well, just in sympathy of that move, I guess. So keep an eye on some of those cannabis stocks. Now, you don't want to chase them when they stretch up this high. Wait for the next rest or pullback for them to show signs. If you're already in, congratulations, but don't chase something that spikes like that, because there's a good chance it could whipsaw back down. So watch those closely. There's something starting to happen here in these charts, so keep a close eye. You might also want to keep a close eye on some of the defensive sector type plays out there. You know, Coca-Cola has been hanging in here pretty well. It's still struggling with this resistance here in the chart, but it's been hanging in there just pretty darn good, trying to hold up. So you may want to keep an eye on some of those just old boring defensive sector stocks that are trying to hang in there, providing those dividend payments to folks in this uncertain market condition. So with that, everyone, hey, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. I want to wish you great results in your trading. Thanks so much for watching today. I do appreciate it. Thanks so much for supporting the channel. You guys are awesome. And I will see you all right back here bright and early Monday morning. I wish you all just a fantastic weekend. Take care, everyone.